that would answer a lot of the questions about who, what, and what is needed.
Yeah, the overall structure is something Dave is going to work on, and we'll work on it together and we'll get it right.
Fred?
And just a minute, I'm sorry, Wilson. The mission
master scenario events list. List.
Master scenario events list. In other words, there's a 25, 30 things that you're going to do. Okay, in order. But then there will be injects that will come in to introduce into that too. So there's as much pre-planning as what you would get in a hurricane situation. This is what's happening, and at 9 o'clock, you're going to find out the news. And then you start to step through it.
Well, go ahead, Wilson. You were first.
Okay. I wondered if maybe Zoom could be used as a background to show what's going on or pass it. I mean, it can't be part of the real thing because it might not be available, but it could help.
Like in a state EOC, we have a Teams meeting open all the time. So like at the Central Branch where our normal work in Brockton, we'll have a Zoom call up. They'll, hey, we need blah, 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 or they'll send it via AOC, which is the state's kind of logistical coordinator system.
During the exercise, you could let people know what's going on.
But I mean, like, but that's kind of the thing you plan too. So you're Zoom and it goes down. So what's your next step? So you just plan it out. I mean, you walk.
It can be fun.
You know, for David and Chris's information, since COVID hit 2017, we've been bringing up 2 Zoom meetings a week in this club. One's a Saturday morning during our OCSCOM net. We ought to make that a part of this. We've had a couple of the exercises, WinLink and Zoom Open, and we use Zoom. Hey, I can't get this to work. You know, we talk on Zoom, but at the same time, we're trying to talk through the radio. So we're already doing that. We certainly ought to do that for this event.
Noted. I think there's the point is of this presentation is to hopefully get some interest, get your appetite up, and find out who wants to play. Then we can start to communicate, and David can start to do the detailed planning to make it all come together. Yes, Bob.
15 days or so before you'll start getting things.
Say that again.
Earlier, you mentioned the exercise begins about 15 days before we start getting updates on weather or whatever. Is that an email thing? Okay.
Yeah, you start to get the feeds. And again, they come in just like real life. You know, the weather report comes out. Not yet.
This is a good opportunity to throw these thoughts out. In some of our meetings, particularly over in Durham, we've met a lot of young people, and I've heard the comment that they're not particularly interested in ham radio because they see that as old school, and I finally understand why they're saying that. There's a lot of people, young people, in this triangle region. I mean, it's got a hell of a lot of communications technologies corporation. That was my career. And in talking to a couple of them, I understand what they're saying. I mean, how many of you know, I mean, like in ham radio, when we try to say use WinLink over a radio, a VHF connection, which is 1200 baud, that's what they're saying is when we do that technique, that's 1890s protocol that was developed. When we talk on FM, that's 1930s protocol. When we talk on this, it's using, and I'll throw out this alphabetical soup, orthogonal frequency division multiplexing, which will pump 10 times the data rate through what we can pump through a VHF repeater, and we've proven it. And they're using a fraction of a watt. and getting far higher data rate through it. We've done this through the, you're familiar with the 147, 135 repeater on the Channel 4 tower. We have tested that. And we're pumping basically 13 kilobits of data through that, driven by WinLink using a thing called VARA FM. So we're getting into more current generation technologies. That alphabet soup encoding method I mentioned was developed by Bell Laboratories in 1966. They weren't able to employ it until the 80s, until computer technology became affordable enough. That's what a sound card is. And that's a whole nother story where that came from and what it's capable of doing. But that kind of technology can push communications through at 10 times the data rate of what we're used to on FM or packet or whatever. And this is an opportunity to use it and more people to learn about it.
So I hope you all have my contact info. Let me know if you want to play. Slide, please.
Okay, I'm here to talk about fox hunting. Today we're going to go over what RF fox hunting is, the rules for competitive fox hunting, the equipment, techniques, and some interference that you may or may not find. So for those of you who don't know, fox hunting is also called T hunting or radio direction finding. I usually call it just DFing. The goal is just to locate a low power transmitter somewhere in the woods or a city. There's two main types. I didn't know about this, but here in North Carolina, we have mobile direction finding, where you hop in your car and try to find a transmitter in the middle of a city or a designated area. And then, of course, we have the on foot, which is very competitive with orienteering. You get a map and a compass. You go out in the woods. The transmitters are typically CW or a tone beacon on 2 meters or 8 meters or 80 meters. My bad. $70 centimeters. I was finding 80 meters online.
Yeah, the orienteering
This is a
group
big
does-
antenna. Yeah, this is massive. I don't. Apparently. Yes, Aurora.
Oh, I was just gonna say you're correct. I've done it on 80 meters, and no, the antennas aren't that long. They use little loops.
There you go. Some of the rules. There's in the mobile in your car, they have defined boundaries. They don't want you driving 50 miles around trying to locate one signal. Public accessible locations, parks, roadsides. Your transmitter must have an ID. It's often on 2 meters, and you're supposed to obey traffic laws. Yeah, they want you doing that. On foot, typically there's 5 foxes on 2 or 80 meters that are timed out. The timed competitions with punch cards or electronic scoring, and the power is usually between 1/4 and 1.5 watts. They have age, gender categories, specific start and finish procedures. They have a time limit, usually supposed to find it within a couple hours. After that, they draw you back. Yeah, you could coordinate with other people, but normally supposed to do it. What's that?
Their question is, is it individuals or can you actually have a team where you actually are trying to like pinpoint? Yeah.
There are team competitions, but usually the most popular would be individual.
Can I put a word in here? My son's club in Marion is pretty active in foxing, and I would say on this page, if you're running low enough power, you don't need to ID, and a lot of people don't worry about it. They go out every Friday. Somebody sets a fox, and they hunt it individually, and they have a phone app where they can enter their data, and other people can see it. So if you want to use it that way, it becomes sort of a cooperative fox hunt. You can see other people's bearings and where they are in their bearings. So you get more data, and they're out every week. Sometimes through the weekend, people are putting them out.
I'd like to make a comment about, because I almost like everybody else looked up, said fox hunting on 80 meters, looks of disbelief. I had it too. Think about it. World War II, how were signals being located down in a low frequency band? Or if any of your aviators know what NDF is, that's the old fashioned direction hunting that was done down the Wilmington beacon is still in the air. I can pick it up at my house. It's on 136 kilohertz. With magnetic loop, small antennas, you can define very accurately. Had that not been possible, if you know the story of Pan Am and their overseas flights over the ocean, it will never happen without DFing on low frequencies. It works.
Okay, some of the equipment that you may or may not see, a very directional antenna. Some people use tape measures, arrow antenna, HB9 CV, small quad antennas, and if you're really into it, phase arrays with multi-antenna systems. It measures the distance or the timing difference of the arrival with like an internal clock. I'll have a picture of that. Next slide. But some of the receivers you might see are the RTL, SDR, or the Kraken, or the laundry list of just other SDRs out there. There's a list of them right there if you wanted to read them. But here's a picture of some of the antennas. They this quad antenna thing over here on the bottom right hand side. People usually put those on their cars. This is the system I'm probably most familiar with. This V-Rod. It's one of the quad antennas, very directional with a computer software.
If everybody has different antennas and different sophisticated systems, how do you compete?
It's a good question. I would say, honestly, I would probably prefer a Yagi. Um,
Well, it
To
it would
make
be
it-
fairer if everybody used the same
True.
antenna.
Right.
Life isn't fair.
Oh. But yeah, those are some of the antennas that you might see or may not see. Some of the techniques, getting your bearing, your line of bearing. There's a picture on the slide of lines of bearing, but if you take multiple lines of bearing or lobs from separate locations, you can get a relatively good idea of where the fox is. Might want to plot them on a map. And then signal strength, you walk in a circle, a pretty big circle, you'll get a good general idea of the direction you're going. This is an example of the lines of bearing. This one on the right, you're going to get like, you're not going to get a completely straight line. You're going to get a general idea of where you're going to go. And if you take two of those, you'll get a better idea. And if you take three, I usually call that a fix. And you can be very certain that the fox is within this little gray area or in that circle. If you just take one, that fox can be anywhere over here. Two kind of narrows it down a little more, and then three is what you want. So you're dealing with multipath and reflections. The 2-meter band is especially prone to the multipath interference, like terrain, trees, buildings, power lines. Signals really like to attach themselves to power lines and fences, metal fences. So that can be a bit of a challenge. Here in the Piedmont, those reflections can swing your bearing from 20 to 90 degrees, just throwing you all over the place. Some of the techniques to mitigate that, you take the average bearing while you move slow. Look for the strongest signal over distance. Use terrain features and elevation changes to your advantage. So if you've got a big giant mountain behind you, signals like to bounce off mountains. They like to bounce off just pretty much everything. So if your line of bearing is facing towards a mountain, best to get a few different readings. That signal is bouncing all over the place. Yes, so you want to take a good average of everything.
Good technique is to put the fox on the other side of the hill, that there's a very tall mountain on the other side. So as you approach the fox, you don't hear the fox directly. You hear the reflection off the mountain in the distance. That's generally done on purpose.
You also put it in the middle of a metal fence. Good luck finding that one. Underneath a rock. Unfortunately, it's not supposed to. But there are a few of them sometimes. So if you get your drone, you can fly it over. So when you're getting close to the fox, that signal becomes a little more it the yeah, the triangulation is not going to help very much. So you can use an attenuator. So you can add decibels to your signal. So you can try to find the strongest one. Let's see here, body shielding. So putting the antenna up to your body. Your body does a really good job of blocking signals behind you. So rotating your body slowly. Let's see here. Off frequency listening. So changing the just slightly above, slightly below the frequency. That might help. And using a third harmonic. So tuning the 2 meter to 493 might help as well. Tilting your antenna does too. So if that fox is a little and yeah, if the antenna is tilted a little bit, maybe you tried tilting your Yagi a little bit too. This is just I didn't really know what an attenuator was, so this is just something that adds noise to your signal, I think. It reduces? Okay. There you go. And a little bit of what causes interference besides everything. Multipath propagation, signal fading, false bearings, external RF noise, so other transmitters, electrical noise, nearby repeaters that raise the noise floor, receiver overload. So a very strong nearby fox will swamp your the front end, making your S meter ping in all directions and getting a bearing completely useless. And then you just kind of just aim it around.
When you get too close, the receiver is not overloaded, but it's fully quieting. If you take the antenna off, now the signal becomes way less, and you can go there or go towards it on the basis of signal strength. As you get closer, the noise becomes less, but the signal remains up there. So you can get even closer.
Yeah, I would never thought to take it off the antenna.
There's a lesson in this also. If you're using an HT radio or low power radio, all this stuff is happening when you're trying to talk to a repeater. And I've participated in 2 fox hunts, the one most recently that or the Durham group did. That was on a farm with a lot of metal roofs. Terrible place in terms of reflections, but even we've had one fox hunt up in another location, no buildings around, but the amount that VHF reflects off of everything, trees, you can't believe it until you experience it with a fox hunt. And you need to think about that when you're trying to talk to a repeater on your HT. The same thing is happening there in terms of you may be in a good spot, sweet spot, or not. But it's a good way to just learn what's going on in normal communications. I mean, anytime you hear a signal, this multipathing, you can hear it beating against its multiple reflections. So this is good knowledge.
How visible does the fox have to be? How visible? Yeah. How visible does the fox have to be? In other words, can he hide so you can't see him?
It depends on the
rules.
person who has the fox. Seen him under bridges.
Hiding in a thicket.
You could probably put it in a thicket on the other side of a log.
In a tree.
In a tree. No. Just. Oh. Aurora.
Oh, I would say I've participated some with the group that's done they have competitive fox hunting, but they also have just for fun fox hunting, and they actually mark there is a visual aspect once you get a certain closeness to it, because eventually even with like shielding and using your body to shield, it just becomes too hard. Um, uh, but they have these like balloons that are like brightly colored. They look kind of like those things people use to scare birds that are right next to the fox. So you have something visual to hone in on. But that could be on the other side of a thicket. So you have to get pretty close to see it.
There's one more slide. Environmental reflectors common in North Carolina. Buildings, structures, terrain features. Again, just about everything out there will bounce a signal off of it.
Reflections can be stronger than the direct, and that is really confusing because you go the wrong way.
Certain trees are better at reflecting things than other trees. Broadleaves, pine needles. Again, really great. Oh, and this is I was if you guys really like looking at schematics, this is a antenna switch, right? This is a antenna switch that I was messing around with. You have the Raspberry Pi GPS and microcontroller that aren't hooked up, but you have the 4 little antennas coming off of the a single pole switch with a voltage translator and a voltage regulator. So if you guys wanted to take a look, critique, but that's what I'm trying to design, print off for fox hunting.
So I think with the, this thing on? Yeah, okay. So I think with the 4 antennas, for those of you that didn't quite catch that, I think it's a 4 square. Okay, so 1 antenna is energized at a time. The other 3 antennas are either acting as directors or reflectors. So the Raspberry Pi is going to rotate around, and probably you have LEDs in there that show signal strength based on the voltage somewhere.
I was hoping to put a clock in there.
Okay. A clock for direction?
For kind of like so these 4 would be here on the corners,
Right.
And when the signal comes into 1, like a timer. So
Yeah.
like the signal will hit.
Oh, would hold it
top
for a while.
one first, and then the second one, and then the third.
I've never seen that. I've seen them with lights. So
Okay.
typically you'll see them going around. You can actually have more than 4, even with 4 antennas. You
Mhm.
can have 8 locations, depending how many times you're sampling it. And that will really point you where you're going with the rate that it's turning, and have the light up at some level based on the voltage. So I think that's where you're going with that, with a clock or with LEDs, and you'll get to the same place.
I've seen that one too, and those are interesting as well.
Aviation. Say aviation navigation systems use that technique. One system, the military version, is called TACAN.
Mhm.
Back in the old days, it was a drum spinning to modulate a signal spinning at 900 RPM, and it would do a north reference burst
Mhm.
on an omni antenna. In the aircraft, is timing how long does it take for that lobe to come around to me, and that's the bearing that the aircraft indicates on the same technique.
Mhm. But I think that was it.
If you're looking for the real deal, there's a book called The Hunt for Red November, not October, November. And it's about the Navy using what they call elephant pens in the Cuban Missile Crisis to find the submarines the Russians had off Cuba. They had the hunt for Red November.
Okay, I have a comment and then a question. Comment is just reading what Aurora brought up regarding 80 meters. She actually knows an orienteering group that fox hunts on 80 meters almost every month. It's way easier to do at 80 meters than 2 meters because the signal doesn't bounce off of everything. And the transmitters are tiny and low power. And the what's called the radio sniffers are about the size of an HT with a frisbee diameter loop on top. And then my question is OCRA or DFMA going to have a fox hunt anytime soon? I don't know. I'm asking the group.
I have tentative plans to do a vehicle-based one in the fall, in late October or early November. But I need a partner in crime. So
Yeah, how much crime, Aurora?
I just need someone to help broadcast or transmit on the day of the event, because I want this one to be with a live fox that is talking, very similar to how we did a vehicle-based one in the past. And I need someone to perhaps help me test out the range of where the fox could be heard from before the event on a
Do you
weekend.
need a repeat offender?
Yeah, like I was hoping you'd volunteer, Dan.
Yeah, I'll help.
Great. Thanks. I will be in contact. So yeah, we'll have one in the fall.
Thanks.
And there was
Yeah,
already
thank you, John.
Yeah. Yeah. Especially walking through
Very briefly, I've got a show and tell that I call the quantum entanglement. And you can't really see it, but up there in the tree is a branch that's swinging around loose, and it's held in place by a cord that used to support my dipole, but it's going up and over the major tree limb there. Here I outlined the branch in red and kind of drew in where the supporting lines were. Initially the branch had snagged the lines, and I pulled really hard in hopes that it would break the branch off and it would fall to the ground. Well, it broke the branch, but it was hanging up there by the line, and the more I messed with it, the more it would rotate and swing back and forth, and more tangled up things got. So I tried using a linoleum knife lashed to a piece of cord and got it up between the lines across the branch. But in trying to snag the lines with that knife, the line on the knife got down between the line going up to the branch and the line on the branch itself that was hanging. And so it pinned my knife up there, and with enough messing around, that got totally locked up and no good. So then I got to thinking, I need to figure out a way to attack the line itself. Next slide. Then I got thinking about seatbelt cutters. I used to work EMS, and these are some pretend seatbelt cutters you can get over the internet. Next slide. Here's some more that look a little more meaningful. Some of them have glass breakers in them as well. Next slide. The Benchmade strap cutter is actually a very well made hardened steel, and it's used by military rescue personnel. They go for about 80 to $100. The other orange one is what we used to carry on the ambulance. The little semicircle thing on the end of it was actually to open aircraft panels. That would have worked well too, but the handle wasn't near long enough to reach that rope from the ground because it was about 50 feet up. Next slide. This is my not a seatbelt cutter. I also have it over here. I put this thing together and screwed some utility knife blades in the V section there and tie a rope to it at one end and at the other. And I used the halyard like a flag and ran it up the pole and then walked it around so where I could snag those lines and was able to lower the head of it, drag it back and snag the line and cut it, and it came down within 5 minutes. And no, this is actually red lacquer on here. My son informed me that the universe is made up of 4 things: neutrons, electrons, protons, and morons. And the red paint is to remind the morons that those utility blades are razor sharp and don't get your fingers in there. So Bob, I think you had a show and tell real quick.
Thank you. Let me let the Zoomers see this first. Doing a kitchen remodel. I've been here about 5 years, and this is called, just so you don't run out of things to worry about. Is that it? Okay. Color on this thing is great. So I'll pass this around for everybody to see. Like I said, we're doing a kitchen remodel, and we pulled out the oven, and I'm going to give it to the fire guy first. So he's probably seen this stuff before. Don't use a small hookup wire when you're hooking up your oven to the 240 like these guys did. I don't know how it still worked. So pass that around and have fun with that. Yeah, 50 amp circuit, and you can see the wire that they hooked up with, the patch between the oven and the house wiring. I don't know. I don't know how long it's been like that. Like I said, we've been there 5 years. We pulled it out and like, what? How does this work? Is that the problem? Yep. Give you the mic.
Since there's a moment of semi-silence, I'll add my kitchen story. If you're hooking up a new wall oven in a dark room, you want to be really careful with the white and the yellow wire because it's hard to distinguish them in the dark. And if you don't distinguish them, the control board will light up very brightly, but not very long. And it's $125 flash.
All right, I think that about sums things up for this evening. Any other comments, concerns?
I just want to reiterate a thanks to John. I don't think people realize it, but like I literally emailed him like 4 days ago and it was like our speaker for the week bailed and at the last minute and I need a replacement. Would you be willing to give a talk that you were going to give in 2 months in 2 days? And he spent the weekend putting that together. So thank you so, so much, John, for putting the time into that. Really appreciate.
Yeah, thanks you so much, John, for setting it up. I have one thing for anyone that's interested in the TV scrap project that we've been working on at Wilson's. We have another date coming up, May 17th at 3 p.m. Once again at Wilson's house. I believe we're going to be soon using an oscilloscope to test stuff, or as Paul calls them, an oscilloscopy, oscilloscopy. Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, we'll have that, and then I'm gonna give it to Dave.
Yep, just real quick, we're starting to get the field day plans together, and I'm doing it on the OCRA DFMA reflectors, so we can get a lot of the broad strokes to it done that way. So by the time we have the DFMA and OCRA meetings, we can start closing in on the final details for it. So if you're not on the OCRA DFMA reflector, talk to me. I'll get you onto it, and we'll get this knocked out. Thank you all.
Speaking of revenue, I have some widow items here. High quality 6-foot coax jumpers. I believe they're commercial, nicely made. This is not club stuff. This is her stuff. I'm suggesting $5 a piece if anybody needs a little shot of coax.
And also, I want to thank everyone for coming out on our photo day that we had last weekend. I hope everyone had fun. I know I had a lot of fun hanging out with people and seeing how everyone does POTA and stuff like that, especially because I had never seen it done with CW before, so that was interesting. Any other comments, questions, or concerns? Okay.
Matthew, I have two
Yes.
there will be announcements on this coming out on the reflector. One is I'm soliciting volunteers for a public event. There has been a request from an organization called Backyard Butterflies that hosts an evening event at 3 parks. One of which doesn't have great cell service, and they were wanting communication between the parks to kind of organize, oh, there's a lot of people here, you can direct them to another park. Or the weather is really bad here, don't have people come to this park, kind of thing. And so if you're interested, it's called the Hillsborough Moth Crawl. And so if you are a bit of a night owl and you would be willing to volunteer with radio communication at that, I will send an email and just reply to that. And then the second announcement is we will in July be having a weekend build day. We're going to be making J-pole antennas. So look for an announcement related to that coming soon.
Thank you so much, Aurora. Okay, I think that's it. We'll see everyone here next time on June 8th.